We're going to have a discussion now on the same on the same subject, which is really the crucial theme of today, I would say. So I welcome the experts to the stage. We have a mix of three experts from the fuel retail industry and two experts from the equipment side. And it's a partnership between these groups, which is important for development of a network, of course. So I'd like to start by a brief introduction. Stefan, you've met. Next we have Gilbert van Rens, who's sitting adjacent to me. He's a member of the board at Mice Energy and Mobility. He's been responsible since last year for the marketing, supply, IT, business development and strategy on the board. So he's AdBlue is one of the topics that lands on his desk regularly, I'm sure. Martinez Dilda is Senior Product Manager, Fuel and Retail at Circle K Europe. Welcome, Martinez. He's currently working as an expert in product management and leads road transport fuels management in Europe with a key focus on optimizing product portfolio on a country and petrol station basis. And he's got a lot of experience launching new products and working on Circle K AdBlue's offering for heavy duty expansion and execution. And then, of course, looking also at passenger car. Then we have Alberto, who's an expert in AdBlue for many years. He's from Pusey, one of the leading suppliers of equipment. He's worked as site project manager on construction of offshore platforms in the past, so he's got an upstream experience. He joined Pusey in 2002, responsible for after-sales service and business development, and spends a lot of time, I think, on AdBlue. And finally, I'd like to welcome Jürgen at the end from Gilbarca Veeder-Root. And since 2012, he's been involved at the Cells Cotton dispenser manufacturing facility as sales director for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for the product lines the company offers. He was part of the team that was involved in the first AdBlue pilots for passenger cars, which Stefan mentioned. And of course, the company is very involved in the AdBlue sector. So thank you for all joining me. To start, to give us a context, please can I ask, Stefan, we've heard some background for, but if I could ask Gilbert and Martinez to just tell us briefly the current status of your network, number of stations and current situation in terms of AdBlue investments, especially for passenger cars, as a kind of context for us to understand where your companies are positioned. Maybe Martinez, if you could start. Could we have some volume on the microphones? Thanks.
Yeah. So when it comes to the infrastructure for the passenger cars and AdBlue infrastructure, at the moment, we don't have any site that would be selling at the pump AdBlue for the passenger cars. So mainly what we have today is the packed AdBlue, as I guess Shell as well. We do have over 700 stations in Scandinavian countries selling AdBlue for the passenger cars. And when it comes to the future itself, whether we do see, let's say, viable business case for the passenger cars, selling at the pumps. At the moment, we don't see, as already Stefan mentioned, we need a little bit more volumes today, and we don't see that volumes coming so fast yet. And what we can see, kind of preliminary assumptions are that in order to make those business case viable for us, we probably need to wait for the next 4-6 years, taking into account, of the car renewal rate. So how quickly, the Euro 6 engines are penetrating the market. So we still see, a little bit of time needs to pass until we will be able to see, positive business cases. But one thing is the business case, right? But what we're also considering is probably doing a couple of pilots and see, if we, how the solution can look like, just to gain some customer insights and etc. So we will be considering probably in the near future to do a few pilots where we could offer AdBlue at the pump for the passenger cars.
How many locations or how many filling stations do you have in total in your network? Did you say 700?
At the moment, we have over 700 where we are selling the packed AdBlue, but the total network across Europe is 23,000 stations.
23,000.
Including Ireland, without Ireland. So if we include Ireland, that's another over 400, so 27,000
And just a quick question on the Pact AdBlue. You have it at 700 stations. What would stop you from rolling that out to more locations? Is it just a matter of time and assessment?
Yeah, the thing is that we have, both manned and unmanned stations. So at unmanned stations, it's very hard to have it.
Okay.
But still, for instance, the aim is, of course, to have, the Pact AdBlue at nearly all stations that are manned stations. Yes.
And what size package final question, what size package do you offer?
It's 1.8 liter, 5 and 10.
Thank you. Excellent. Gilbert, can I ask you the same question in terms of your current status?
Yes. Well, Maas is a little bit smaller than Circle K. We operate 125 stations in Belgium under the brands Esso and our own brand Maas. We had we already sold Pact AdBlue for a couple of years in the stations where we have a shop. Last year we did a rebuild of an existing station where we integrated AdBlue in the station. It was an Esso station in Aartselaar. Our first results were quite positive, I must say. It was picked up quite easily by customers. We didn't do any marketing communication, only on the station itself. And after that, we, end of last year, decided to roll out 16 dispensers in our network, which have been almost completely installed. The 16th one was yesterday at the filling demonstration that will be integrated within a couple of weeks. And these are units designed for usage on an existing petrol station, so with a relatively small tank of 1,500 liters, and 2 nozzles, one for trucks, one for passenger cars. The first was installed, I think, 8 weeks ago, and I must say the first results are encouraging. Of course, the volumes are still low, but they will pick up relatively fast, I guess. And it's a word of mouth thing. People talk about it. They think that the experience of using or filling up AdBlue with a traditional pistol is much more convenient than using bottles or packs. So I think, well, we are going to evaluate this first batch of AdBlue dispensers, but I'm quite positive that we are going to roll out it further the coming period.
Very good. Thank you for the update. We do see a range of strategies for companies like yourselves when they approach this sector. Then to move across to the technology equipment specialists, Alberto and Jürgen, can I ask, first of all, what your product offering is in terms of supplying the segments, and then could you tell us how customer needs are changing? Are you seeing different requests? Are the filling station operators requiring different things to what they were asking for 12 months ago? How's the market evolving for your product range? Alberto, can you start?
Hello? Yeah. At the moment, we are in the market starting for equipment for refilling passenger car, mainly equipment for the workshop. We started 5 years ago and we developed an equipment to use mainly in the workshop. But lately, the demand for refilling equipment in the gas station is increasing. And that's why we start to develop new components can be fit in equipment for gas station. The main requests are that the equipment has to be MID certified, means because up to now our equipment was not, but in the gas station you need this requirement. Sometimes also is required to be ATEX because the equipment is placed close to the gasoline or the diesel equipment. However, we are receiving requests not only from the gas station. Sometimes there are other players that can enter in this market, such as car washing or such as supermarket, because AdBlue is linked to the diesel, but sometimes can be considered also sold separately. Then practically we have seen that yes, there is the increasing demand and more actors are coming to requesting equipment for refilling AdBlue. Then I think it's a market that is increasing, and we are investing in this equipment. Right now, we have some companies that are installed in some equipment made by others, and are used in some gas station.
Jürgen.
Yeah. So additional to what we heard before, some severe problems which occur with refilling AdBlue from Stefan, and also with the information coming from the car. We support the retailers with the most flexible possibility to fuel up, and in our view, is the best solution is to offer the AdBlue on the dispenser. So then you don't have the effect that you try to overfill, or you have the fear to overfill. The nozzle is switching off like like it is used to do when you fill up your diesel. And just to show you some slides, I haven't made a presentation. It's just some pictures, and at the end, there's some short video. Please, could you start?
Can we bring up the Gilbarco slides?
Yeah, just run through and a few words and.
Did this work?
Okay.
Just pass it down. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, yeah, the one who has been at the workshop yesterday afternoon, that's a standard SK700 solution. You see two petrol and two diesel grades and the AdBlue grade. So the people are able to fuel AdBlue and diesel at the dispenser. And what was for our intention was most important, to have a very easy solution. The nozzle is looking like the same, just like diesel, so it's nothing new for the people to fuel up AdBlue. And on the other hand, we have a second computer head, that's option, that you can fuel up AdBlue and diesel in one transaction, and you can go to the shop in one transaction. So very easy. We have seen from Stefan the installation from Shell sites with container. So this was a retrofit, no AdBlue tank in the ground. This is another station, similar looking, also with two computer heads with underground tank. It is also possible to have very simple AdBlue dispensers, standalone versions with diesel, without diesel, just AdBlue, or AdBlue for trucks and for passenger cars in one dispenser, like this one. You can have it with AdBlue and just diesel, no petrol grades. A very nice looking station for Tankpool 24 and Aral, so similar or identical dispensers for the truck and for the open market. Installation with AdBlue dispensers beside the normal dispenser. And you also can have CRINs, so card readers in the dispenser, so you can also have 24/7 AdBlue available without shop, so no problem. The customer fuels up AdBlue as simple as he fuels up diesel. Some container versions, we have containers from 1,100 up to 10,000 liters, so it's up to the customer who decides the size of the AdBlue tank. You can have it beside. So what I just want to show you, we are reacting flexible on the request of our customers, which are the retailers, but at the end, the end customer, the consumer, should have a very, very easy solution to fuel up AdBlue. So it's nothing special. Yeah, and one example from an Esso station here in Bremen, where we have in the right picture, that's the old diesel dispenser on that station, and we retrofitted, or Exxon retrofitted it into an AdBlue diesel combi dispenser with a switch to 70 liters diesel, also in an AdBlue tank. I hope. Short video is starting. So it seems that she was happy. If she is happy, I guess the retailer did a good job, we did a good job. And that it's like, in our view, it should be.
Thank you. That seems like a good example of the best use case for a customer to have that convenience. So let's get into some discussion. I'd like to ask all of you to tell me from your either direct experience or talking to customers, what's the biggest barrier to investing in pumps? We definitely heard from Martinez that from a big network that the business case is a barrier, but what is the issue that holds back the investment? Is it the uncertainty about diesel sales, diesel vehicle sales, low volumes? They're all connected, of course, but what is the thing that holds you back? And in particular, I wanted to ask if one thing is an issue. There's been a big debate in the past about whether customers will use truck pumps. We know some vehicle manufacturers have configured their cars to take the volumes from truck pumps, the 40 liters a minute. But in practice, are you finding customers, or do you hear of customers actually going to use truck pumps? And because the customers using a truck infrastructure would severely disturb the business case for passenger car pumps. And do customers expect to have the spill-free nozzle? Is everything linking, pushing towards passenger car packaging or pumps, or are customers finding ways to use truck pumps? And is that stopping your investments? So any barriers, in particular the truck infrastructure, from any of you to comment?
As far as I know, that if you look at the current models being sold right now using AdBlue, the nozzle that's being used, you simply cannot use a truck nozzle. So you need I'm not a technical guy, but you need the smaller filling so that it opens up. You cannot use a truck for that, a truck nozzle for that. So we think that you have to always have two nozzles, one for trucks or dedicated for trucks or dedicated for cars, but you cannot use a truck nozzle for cars, as far as I know.
That's a good signal for customers. Any other thoughts on that point, or other barriers?
Yeah, just probably a couple of things. As I mentioned, one of the barriers is of course the business case. But on the other hand, what is the consensus from the, let's say, OEMs? Where is going to be the refilling point? I mean, where from the pictures we saw today, it can be in the engine compartment, in the trunk compartment, it can be next to the diesel filling. So, for instance, can you refill, with a nozzle, in the engine compartment and in the trunk? Probably not, right? It's going to be hard. So that would be one thing. The second thing is, of course, as Stefan mentioned, the energy, distribution. So what is going to be the future? For instance, like in Norway, we see, the electrification of the fleet, right? So probably from the 3 Scandinavian countries, that would be at least considered country where I would like to pilot at least, the filling solution. So these would be, the two major, let's say, barriers. And of course, the third is the business case itself.
What we have seen as a manufacturer, there are many cars now in the market that cannot fill up with the flow rate too high. Sometimes there are cars that will go below the 5 liter minutes. That is the minimum flow rate defined by the norm. And sometimes there are cars that can be over or up to 40 liter minutes. Then particularly a multi-dispenser like this can be an opportunity, but sometimes not all the cars can be fed with a multi-dispenser because there's a problem with the flow rate and so on. And the possibility to fill together, it's a good idea. But sometimes there are some, we have seen in Italy, some place where the AdBlue is far away from the other in one side because maybe they don't need Arctic certificate and so on. In other case, because maybe takes more time to fill up the AdBlue, and then they prefer to leave free the line where the diesel is filled up and to have a separated area for the AdBlue. Then, and also there are many cars, well, right now less, but in the first car, they have the filling point in the trunk, in the rear part of the car. This is very uncomfortable, using an automatic nozzle, sometimes some splash and so on. Then that's why the workshop is still used by some client to go, because in the workshop they know that the technician is able to do the fill up in the right way and so on. I think also that the client and user are not comfortable with the AdBlue. They believe that can damage the car. there are still some idea about this liquid that is aggressive, can damage the paint and so on. Then the self-service is something that is coming on, but I think that there are still some users prefer to have a service, not a self-service, someone that will come and fill up the car.
Maybe Ignacio, do you mind just a comment from car manufacturers on the filling points? From your Opel perspective and from your discussions in the CEO work groups, Ben, could we get a microphone? Just a comments on where you think the trend is for the filler location.
Yes, I was just going to ask for the word. So first of all, from Opel side, exactly for the reason, we went from the beginning to outside filling to filling on the fuel trap, on the fuel door. But of course, other OEMs are not that far. So these fillings in the under the hood or in the boot, they come from times where the tank was meant to be refilled on every service interval and not by the customer himself. And then there is a consensus over the industry, not only at VDA, but also at ACEA, to put the filling in the outside. The problem for many car manufacturers is that when you have something in production, then changing it, and especially in this case, changing the car body, changing the steel in the car, is very expensive, and in some cases there is not even space there. So there are still some cars that are being produced with filling in the boot. I'm not going to name any because they belong to my competitors, but they are fading out of the market, and all new models they have already fill in the fuel trap. But of course, we cannot retrofit a car that is in the field to make it fillable from the outside.
Thank you, Ignacio. Yes, another comment there from Mike at Jaguar. Thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mike Powell, Jaguar Land Rover. To kind of echo what Ignacio said there is, so we have vehicles, a mixture. We have vehicles that are still being manufactured with the filler in the boot and under bonnet. Our strategy is very much to go to the filler pocket, but obviously that takes time. We're in the middle of that cycle. You see, obviously, the vehicle that we bought yesterday was a filler pocket vehicle, and that was to basically promote the fact that our vehicles are moving to that position. We do have vehicles like XF, XE that are still in the boot, but they are subject to obviously the conditions and the restrictions that you mentioned, which obviously the cost of metalwork and basically the tank location. But when we do next generation vehicles, we'll be pushing and moving them, to the filler pocket to basically enable the customer to refill and have the best access possible. So it's just kind of echoing that position. That, we're in that mid-cycle throes. I mean, it's obviously clear with Opel and people like that are probably slightly ahead of that cycle. There are other customers that are not. But if you benchmark a number of the manufacturers now, which I continually do, there is a very strong trend for it to actually move to the filler pocket to support the customer refilling it. Okay?
Thank you, Mike. From the panel, any other comments on barriers that stop you or slow you from investing or your customers? Let's have a chance to get questions from the floor because you may have some. So any questions from the floor for the speakers? You must have a question. Let's start with Johan. Thank you.
Just a short question. If you have a station where we have truck at Blue and for passenger cars, price-wise, there's no choice to make different prices, isn't it? For example, Shell.
Without saying your prices, do you think these prices can be differentiated, or do you think prices need to be the same, which I think is Johan's question? Yeah.
I can only say that for the moment we chose to have the same pricing for passenger cars as for trucks. Of course, there's a possibility to differentiate, but so far we chose the easy way, and from a communication perspective, to explain to a customer that he pays more at the same pump for the same product because he has a smaller tank, that's a bit complicated to explain. So we chose to do otherwise. Keep it simple.
Yeah, we did also various tests on this, and we ended up somewhere between the packed product and the truck price would be a good solution for the customer, because distribution of smaller amounts than to the truckloads is more expensive, and so there's a lot of reason you can talk to the driver, to the customers on that. So, and I think they understand that.
Thank you. Further comment?
Just another short question. Big companies are thinking about plastics in the ocean. If we see how much additional plastic canisters we are bringing in here, are there some internal discussions maybe to think over to reuse these beautiful, expensive bottles, or to use plastic foils, also these pouches, or how do you see from an ethics policy this mid long term, or just do we put it away? Additional volumes?
Good question. Certainly in the media and politically, plastic has become such a big issue in the last 6 months. So especially for Shell and for Circle K, your strategy seems very centered on packaged products. What's your corporate approach to the plastic involved and the recycling? Do you have a strategy to deal with that?
Yeah, and I fully agree with you and with the presentation from GreenChem before. And our strategy is really to get the volumes and then really go for a more and more bulk solution, because we are a retailer with bulk traditionally. And but at the moment we cannot avoid it. What we can do is we can work together with the manufacturer for the plastics to make it more recyclable, more greener, whatever. But the long-term strategy is really to moving away from packed product to bulk product. But that will take time, and it will require volume to satisfy the business case. Yeah.
I just can add a few words. We are selling also this greenwash, right, fluid, and gradually we're shifting from the plastic bottles to the pouch bottles. So I think that in the future, to the pouch. So in the future, it's going to be the same with the AdBlue. First it's the plastic, and then of course when the volumes increases, then we will we'll be looking for the more sustainable kind of solutions. So I would say that in the future probably also it will be the pouches.
Gilbert, your network, do you have a strategy for the packaged product recycling in particular?
Well, most part of our network is unmanned, so we don't sell a lot of bottles. The ones we sell, it's the same. Where we can, we will make the station available with the bulk installation. We haven't decided yet to stop selling the pouches and cans. But on the stations where we have a bulk installation, we don't sell it anymore.
All right.
So
it replaces.
Yeah.
Next question, please. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, my name is Kevin Struve, I'm with OCI. I was wondering if you have any statistics on the consumer preference between refilling at a retail service station versus the OEM dealer, or this where you have your car serviced. So for instance, I have an X6, BMW just fills up my AdBlue tank when I go annually for the service. And I don't have to ever go to a refilling station to have that done. So I wasn't sure if that's common, that most people will be having it done by the dealer or where they have their car serviced versus at the pump when they're just refilling.
Yeah, 2 remarks from that side, from my side on that subject. First, I think it partly depends on who pays the bill, because filling up through OEM dealership is on average a little bit dearer than doing it yourself. The other thing is that if you look at the service intervals, you need to go an extra time to your dealer if you want to replace your AdBlue. I had it myself. I took a new car last year, and they said to me, "You don't have to worry about AdBlue. We'll take care of it." But yeah, it's a 25,000 kilometer interval. So after I think 16,000 kilometers, the lights start turned on, and I needed to refill. So I think in that case, you rather want to go to a service station nearby than have to make an appointment at your dealer.
Could you get the microphone over to Cheryl? To Mike?
Hello there. Yeah, it was a good question about the dealer side. We provide obviously the refill through the dealer. You can have it as part of the service pack, or you can actually pay. But obviously with the increased emissions and the increased dosing we spoke about, customers now really are not getting to the service intervals. And they're actually, they are going to actually have to refill themselves. So we've got quite a mix of demographic of people. We've got the older person, should I say, or basically they want to take it back to the dealer. They enjoy having a coffee in the dealership while the car's filled up, and they've got plenty of time on their hands. And I wish I was one of them. But basically, then you've got the other kind of thing where the car is obviously requiring refill. It could be 6, 7, 8,000 miles that it requires a refill. The service strategy for the service is, say, 20,000 miles for the service. The customer then can't get to the dealer because dealers aren't all in every place. So there is a migration, I see, from basically customer at the dealer to customer refilling. And certainly on the new model cars, you'll see more customers having to refill them, in my opinion. Would you support that?
I would like to build on that. From Opel side, of course, when we launched SCR, all our customers were going to the dealer. So our first car was launched in 2012. So there was absolutely no infrastructure, not even the 4 gas stations from Shell. But then people started, and then at that time the refill rates were quite, the consumption was quite low. Starting model year 17 onwards, and also all the refills that we've done in the field, the Zafira has 8-liter tank with a 2-liter per 1,000 kilometer consumption. So you can imagine you cannot go to the dealer every 3,000 kilometers to refill. You need to do it yourself. So people find quite quickly a solution for themselves, be it with canisters, be it with finding a gas station that has AdBlue or whatever. But you cannot. Zafira is a quite extreme example, but our current cars, the Zafira is getting now a new tank, a bigger tank. So our cars are designed for refill every 5,000 to 8,000 kilometers. Most people don't go to the dealer that soon. So yes, maybe they get a refill when they go to the oil change after 30,000 kilometers, but that's on top to the to what they need to do between the services. And when they find out the cost of the dealer versus the cost of the gas station, they will not be willing to pay for that.
Thanks, Ignacio. Just to add the point, I know from the vehicle manufacturers in our Find AdBlue stakeholder group, which includes Ignacio, but also VW, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, some others, their active decision is to direct customers to filling stations when the AdBlue light comes on, even to the extent that in the navigation systems, they don't have dealer locations tagged for AdBlue navigation. So if connected cars, when the AdBlue light comes on, they'll actively direct their customers to filling stations rather than to dealers. So it's a company decision or a policy decision to push customers away from dealers for this product. It doesn't apply to all manufacturers. Some manufacturers seem to still want that connection with customers at the dealers and to increase the connection. In some countries, this is more popular. But I think the trend overall is certainly, for all the reasons described, to get customers to filling stations.
However, I think that in the future, in the gas station, the way to have a service or without service will be one of the challenges. Because I agree, not all the people like to fill up themselves at the blue. It happened in Italy. We have still some gas station with service because maybe women or old people that don't want to stay in the end with the diesel, they prefer to have a service. Then I think that is not completely clear up this matter for the future.
Certainly not clear. No, there's going to be a range of, I think, service options which different customers prefer.